What are you passionate about? Are you happy? Are you really happy? Do you trust your own instinct? What is your perception of God? Are you the best version of yourself? This is Conversations We Never Had, hosted by Wendy. And I'm so excited to be sitting down with Nicola Cooper. I know you through what you do for a living, your career. And I think you're doing an amazing job. But today I want to find out about who Nicola Cooper is, your very essence.
Sure, it's a really difficult question and so layered. In my very essence, or in the most foundational element of me, I'm a very simple person, like I'm a small town girl who is literally just fascinated by the world and by people, and just a sense of joy that I get from observing people. That's pretty much it. I'm not as high maintenance as I look.
Really?
I'm pretty easily fulfilled, and I'm very grateful for that.
What is one of the things that people don't know about you?
I think a lot of people, because of the work that I do, think that I am a little bit unapproachable or, a little bit hard. But a lot of people don't know that I'm very soft, kind of goofy, silly, and very sort of, like I said, very simple, very basic. Like I'm not a materialistic person, even though I work in a very
material world.
The
fashion space is very extremely.
It's about simple things for me. It's not about things. It's about happiness. It's about good people. It's about unearthing, amazing people doing amazing things. So a lot of people don't get that just from a photograph from front row.
How do you find your strength when, tough times are here and you're just like, oh my God?
I'm a very faith-based person. I think often I don't know where that strength comes from. I do believe in a higher power, or power greater than myself, and I believe that my strength comes from there. I don't generally question it. I'm just really, really grateful that I have it, and that it allows me to persevere and to get up, when things are really, really tough. So, I would say, personally, it's a power greater than I am. But it's just something I don't question in my life. I'm just super, super grateful I have it.
I mean, I think we're all struggling, or we're all seeking for freedom. Whether it's politically, whether it's with ourselves. But initially, I think we're all struggling to be free. What are some of the challenges that you have faced when it comes to freedom? Is it about yourself or is it external?
I think it's a little bit of both. I did grow up a little bit strange, like in terms of my own personal style, and pushing the boundaries and those kinds of elements, which again, it took me a while to accept that I wasn't this kind of carbon cutout, that I expressed myself through clothing. I expressed myself, and my identity, my emotions came through in clothing, and that was just the way that I articulated it, But then also being, held back a little bit, specifically, and it saddens me because I'm a woman, and a lot of the time I'm facing those kinds of hindrances, and I keep believing that we've evolved to a certain extent, and that these things don't matter, and then unfortunately I have this kind of rude awakening of my gender in situations. So sometimes even though I am the best qualified or something like that, I'm overlooked because I'm not a man. And I think that disheartens me a little bit, you know, because I am equally intelligent, equally as driven, equally as successful, but when it comes to the positioning, a man will be approached over me. And, you know, I think we've got a long way to go around patriarchy and gender equality. And I've found that that's kind of been my biggest hurdle. You know, even at varsity, I sort of won a bursary, and they'd said to me, well, if you're a man studying maths, you would have gotten more. And I think that's been a little thing that has reoccurred
in your
in my career, and it's unfortunate, but I think it tends to make you work harder. And I often look at women who are successful, and I know how hard that they've had to work to be in that position, because we tend to have to work twice as hard and kind of flex our muscles and be a little bit harder than we want to be. So I have the greatest admiration for other women as well, and the greatest respect in those situations.
I went through your social media, and I then bumped into a post that you were you were sort of explaining what you were going through, and you had an accident that affected you.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, and reading that has brought in so much enlightenment in my life, just to dig deep and understand where my struggles are. But then how did the accident change your perspective on life?
I think the accident affirmed my life, and that's something that we rarely have the opportunity to have, is that affirmation. So, you know, I was in a coma for 3 weeks, and when I woke up from the coma, I saw messages from people who I'd worked with, peers, colleagues, kids I mentor, and just the love and the response that they had. I mean, it was pretty much like you were seeing your own eulogy. And it affirmed the way that I had treated people throughout my career, and on a personal perspective, that the love was mirrored back to me, the respect was mirrored back to me, and it made me think okay, I've been doing something right to receive this. So, you know, I've always been a very grateful person for my career, for the people that I'm surrounded with, and I've always, you know, tried to let the people that I know understand that I appreciate them and their skills, their hearts, you know, those kinds of things. And it was really astounding and overwhelming to see that bounce back. And, you know, it left me in the most utter state of humility, and that I was able to experience that and able to have that affirmation that the way that I was treating people was the right way for me, and that it was emulating in the people around me. So that changed me. Well, it just made me feel strong in who I was, and that was a huge thing for me, to wake up and know that even if I hadn't survived, I would have made a difference.
What are you grateful for?
So many things, the little things. My parents, who, you know, in this time of trauma, we love our parents. I mean, there's no doubt you love your parents. But when you see them hold up in a situation like that, they were optimistic, they were positive, they were loving, they refused to give up. And that's something I'm grateful for, because I got to love my parents more. If you know, it's weird, you think you love your parents, but I love them even more now. But then it's also simple things, you know, having your sort of dignity and your integrity stripped from you, in terms of having to be bed bathed and just feeling like you're not your own. And another simple moment that I experienced is after I just got out of hospital, I was able to shower myself and wash my own hair. And I remember doing that and absolutely breaking down in the shower and crying and sort of saying, you know, thank you, God, for this. Like for this moment, to be able to reclaim my dignity and to reclaim my integrity as a woman, to be able to just do the most simple thing as bathe myself and wash my hair. And that's something I vowed to myself that day that I would never forget, and that any time I was feeling like I was taking life for granted or that I was not appreciating things, I would remind myself of that particular moment. Yeah.
What is more important to you, spirituality or religion?
I think my relationship with a power greater than myself is a very personal one. It's not for anyone else. It's for me and for the higher powers. So it's not about going, you know, I understand the necessity for community and going to church and those kinds of elements, but for me, the most powerful conversations are the ones that I'm having directly. My method is maybe a little bit different, but I engage nonetheless.
And what is your spiritual practice, if I may ask?
It's about me just doing the right thing. I cannot control other people. I cannot control other situations. So when I'm confronted with a situation, it's how I can do the best in that scenario, how I can keep my side of the street clean. And that's just my philosophy in life. So when someone is behaving untowards towards me, it's about how do I react, because that's the only thing I can control. I can't control anything else, and my accident proved that. You know, I knew that I'd driven okay, I had my safety belt on, I wasn't on my mobile phone, I don't drink, and I had done everything right, but that little variable was something that was beyond my control. But the idea of when I woke up out of the coma, that kind of serenity that I got from knowing that I did nothing wrong, that I did my absolute best. And I think that's to be able to sit with yourself every day and know that you've given your 100%, you've treated people with respect and dignity, that there's a lightness that comes from simple philosophy of keeping your side of the street clean.
What is your biggest loss?
Grieving my old self. I think that was a really tough thing for me to do, was, you know, when I sort of came out and I was like starting to rebuild myself, I kept wanting to be the Nicola that was before, and realizing that no matter how hard I tried, I would never be that Nicola. I would never be the same. And there's a process of grief that you have to go through to say goodbye to that person, because that person was on a great trajectory. She was looking and feeling great, and she was somewhere, and you know, your desire is to go back to there, and instead of going, okay, assess, reassess, okay, I've got scars and I've got bruises and you know, I've got PTSD and I've got all these issues, but how do I love the new me and not want the desire to go back to the old me, because that is just something that will never happen. So that was my biggest loss, was losing myself, grieving myself, grieving my old self.
Are you afraid of death?
I'm not afraid of death. It's such a weird thing, you know, like people say, when I mean, I had 3 times that I legitimately died, and everyone speaks about the light, and I didn't have any of those.
Really?
I was very upset that I didn't have that moment of the light and feeling. I'm scared about missing people. And I think that's what came through. I'm not scared of death. Death is not the scary part. The scary part is not having the people that you love around you. That was my biggest fear. It was like, my mom, I'm not going to see my mom, or I'm not going to see my dad. But the death aspect, the physical aspect, does not scare me at all. You know, it's inevitable, and I know that sounds really macabre. But it is, But if you do believe in something greater than yourself, you know that this is just a shell, and that it's a host for something else. So, yeah, it doesn't scare me.
What do you think happens after death, though?
No, I had quite a traumatic experience when I was in my early 20s. My grandmother died in my presence. And it sounds like a really hectic thing, and it was a really hectic thing because I loved her. But when everyone sort of came around and they were like, do you want to say goodbye to your grandmother? I was like, she's just not there. And it was like, just like someone had turned off a light. And it's something that affirmed the idea of there's something more to a human being than just the physical body. Because the physical body was there, but there was just something, there was an essence that was gone. And that was hugely reassuring to me that there's somewhere else, there's something else. I don't know what it is yet, and we'll only know when I go through that experience myself. But yeah, I do believe that there is something else.
Yeah. What is your idea of beauty?
Acceptance. My idea of beauty is kindness. My idea of beauty is diverse and unique and flawed. Yeah, I've never fit the mold myself, and I appreciate others who don't. I love the little things that make a person unique.
Yeah.
I love the birthmark, I love the freckle, I love the two different color eyes. Yeah. I love the things that make people uniquely them. That's beauty for me.
That's beauty. When do you feel the most beautiful?
When I feel the most beautiful, it's so weird. It's when I'm like exercising and I feel like my lungs, and I feel the energy, and I feel like I'm pushing my body to its full capacity. That's when I feel beautiful.
So when I say grace, what comes to mind?
It brings to mind, by the grace of God, go I, which is a really important saying in my life. It also is something that I aspire to be, is graceful. To have that grace and integrity and that quiet confidence.
What makes you uncomfortable?
Lying makes me uncomfortable. Lying is something I don't understand. I don't understand people who do it, and it makes me uncomfortable, and it makes me angry, and being angry makes me uncomfortable. But lying is something that I don't comprehend, and I think cruelty in that respect, when people can be overtly cruel or overtly hurt someone, that makes me uncomfortable, because I try and rationalize it, I try and understand it, and I just don't understand how someone can be cruel to another human being or to an animal, and deliberately so. It doesn't, it's like, does not compute. It's just like, and I do try and understand why that person did that thing. But it takes me to a different place, and I just sometimes don't comprehend.
Would you say you are living a purposeful life?
Yes, I mean it's something that I've known my entire life. I knew that I existed to make a difference, no matter how small that difference was. That was my purpose, was just to make a difference. And I think, obviously, after surviving what would have been fatal car accident, my purpose has been affirmed.
And any regrets in life?
That's something I battle with, because I know that I should regret things, but I also know that I shouldn't regret things. I know that the things that sort of they shaped me, they made me who I am. So even though sometimes I have not behaved in the best way, or that's, even when that was happening, it was preparing me to be accountable and to acknowledge where my flaws were and to fix those flaws. So even though I sometimes regret the way that I behaved in a certain circumstance, at least I have the character to self-analyze and in better, I think. Then the regret becomes a learning, becomes a lesson, rather than something that holds me down for the rest of my life.
Speaking about lessons, what has been your biggest lesson in life?
Patience.
Patience.
Learning to be patient with myself, having to recover, and learning how to walk or sit, or that patience, and in circumstances where I had to hand over to be cared by other people, to understand that other people do things differently to me, and to be patient with them, and to allow them to do things the way that they do things, rather than the way I think that they should do things. Patience is a difficult one to learn, but I think as a result of learning that, I've become softer, which is not a bad thing. It's important, and far more empathetic.
What is your daily mantra?
My daily mantra changes every single day. I always actively seek out words every single day that resonate with me on that particular day. But it's generally about living your best life, and falling in with my kind of philosophy of keeping your side of the street clean, just to do your best and to do it in the best way possible.
Thank you so much, Nicola, for making time to join us and to speak about your truth, your story, and everything you have said today has pushed me to become a better person, and I've learned a lot from just listening.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share a piece of myself with you. It's always an honor to be able to share what's in your heart. So thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you, Huggy.
Let's talk about things we keep inside, deep in our souls, that make us who we are. On the pain, things that bring us down, the darkness and the night that we carry. Conversation